Hi, Dean Kershaw here, Kershaw Instrumentation. Today we're here to talk about our basic footage counter. The model I have here is a model BFC21. This device has been customized for measuring the length of consumer paper products such as parchment paper, freezer paper, stretch wrap that you use in the kitchen, or aluminum foil or a product similar to that. For starters, you'll notice that these samples that I have are all different lengths. So what we have designed is the stations are adjustable to accommodate the length of the product. For example, on the unwind station, we have these cones that support the roll. And the reason we have the cones is because some of these products don't have a core, so we don't have clearance to have a shaft. So we have cones that support the roll, and you can see this right-hand cone, which I refer to as the drive side, is adjustable, and it is also spring-loaded, so we can apply a little spring force to that, which will put a little drag on our test sample. Now the second part of this system is we have an S-wrap assembly. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass the sheet under the idling roll and over the sensing roll. This rubber sensing roll has an encoder at this end, and it's actually counting turns as we run the samples. You'll also notice up here we have what we call an end of sheet sensor, and essentially that's going to look for the trailing edge. When it passes under that, that tells the system that the roll has expired. It will shut off the test and display the final reading on the PLC. We're going to run a sample in a moment and demonstrate that. Now on the wind-up side of this, we have a removable wind-up shaft, and you'll notice that we have two bobbins, and these bobbins allow us to feed the material underneath, and this is what's actually going to drive the material off of our sample roll. This bobbin is adjustable in width to accommodate the various width measurements of these materials. So without further ado, let's go ahead and install the wind-up roll. Now, one of the requirements is we need to know precisely what the length of the leading material is. I have this machine set up for 12 inches. So I'm going to measure 12 inches from the beginning of the sheet to where the end of sheet sensor is located. Now, what that's going to do for us is it's going to add that 12 inches to the measurement, even though it didn't actually measure it. So that's why we want to be somewhat consistent on that dimension of that starting point. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start the test. Now to start the test, I simply push the start button. The motor is rotating the wind-up shaft and feeding the material through the machine. If you look up at our counter, you can see it's counting down. Now if I want to display this in metric, I simply touch the display. It will toggle to meters or to feet. So we'll go ahead and let this test finish. So our test is complete. Now you'll notice on the display that it's displaying that we have a length of 80.8 feet. This particular material is specified to be 80 feet. Now prior to running this test, I had unrolled the sample and actually measured it with a tape measure, and the 80.8 feet is the exact measurement of this sheet. Now, to remove the sample, we simply take our unwind roll out, and we can slide this one bobbin off the shaft, and we can remove the sample from the unwind shaft. Now, a few other features on this. I had mentioned at the beginning of our presentation here that this can be used for a variety of materials. One thing that we have to consider is there is a certain amount of stretch to this material. Certainly on like a shrink wrap type product like this, obviously something like aluminum foil is going to have little or no stretch whatsoever. So with that being said, if you consider that, if I calibrate this machine to give us a precise measurement with aluminum foil, it's not likely that it's going to be accurate on the shrink wrap because of the stretch factor. So what we have done is, in the PLC, we have a section which we call brand select. Now with the brand selection, we can basically set this machine up for, in this case, 4 different products, and each one can have a different set of calibration parameters. The calibration parameters would accommodate the stretch of the material, and we can also put in different starting lengths for our leading length if required. So this way, if I'm running wax paper, I can select this brand, and you'll see on the running screen it says wax, and our leading edge should be 12 inches. Or if I want to run clear material, our lead length is 16 inches. It tells us that it's clear. This will have a different calibration factor than some of the other products. We have a test panel, which is simply a troubleshooting area where we can look at the various I/O functions on the machine. And the machine is somewhat portable. There's wheels at this end and a handle on this end, so that if you want to move it around on the factory floor, it can be moved reasonably with reasonable ease. So that concludes our demonstration.